There have been moments in my life where I get so emotionally triggered that I completely lose myself in it. The difference now is that I can actually see what's happening inside of me while it's happening. And that's empowered me to not only have more presence with what's happening in that moment, but also set myself up to learn something from the experience and grow from it. But there was a time in my life when I had no idea what was actually happening inside of me. I mean, if you would have asked me back then, I would have told you that I did know, but actually those were just my ideas and stories based off of my past pain and programming that were telling me that actually I knew what was happening, but I didn't. There wasn't a deeper understanding of the stories and the beliefs that were fueling the reactions that I was having in my life and ultimately running my life unbeknownst to me. Now, before we get into it, if we haven't met yet, I'm Rachel, and I am super passionate about sharing what I've grown through in a way that can help you get to know yourself by heart, which is to say, you trust yourself. You trust yourself to make the best decisions for yourself so that you can live a life that feels true and authentic to who you really are. All right, let's dive into it. So here's how today's training is going to be structured. In the first half, we'll be focusing on building awareness and clarity around today's topic. And to see what this work looks like in action, I'm going to be walking you through a personal example from my own life. And from there, we'll start to move into today's practice, which is where you can start to apply this work in your own life. In the second half, we'll move into a guided visualization with sound activation, where you'll have the opportunity to bring everything we're going to talk about out of the mind and into the body. So you can really start to land and integrate on a deeper, more somatic and energetic level. Now this portion is going to be about 30 minutes long. So if you have headphones, I definitely recommend using them. It'll really enhance the experience. And of course, being in a private space will be really important for that. And at the end, I'll share a few bonus exercises you can continue working with on your own. And one last invitation before we get back to the training. I really want to invite you to be intentional with this time. If you're able to, give yourself about an hour and 20 minutes to really be present with this training and the practices. So you might want to grab some water or tea, grab your journal, maybe light a couple candles or some incense. Just, create a space that feels really good for you. Because the more you treat this like something you actually get to enjoy, the more you're going to get out of it. There's a memory from my 20s that's just like burned into my mind. And this wasn't an isolated experience. I've had many experiences like this, but for some reason, this one really stands out to me. And I feel like it's a really great example to use for today's training. So I was living in LA at the time. I was at a friend's, we were barbecuing. I had a family member visiting from out of state, and something was said at some point, and I just lost it. Like I exploded in a fit of rage and anger. And then that very quickly turned into in a mental emotional breakdown where I was just sobbing uncontrollably in the fetal position in my friend's bedroom for hours. And I remember people were coming in and out trying to talk to me and help me. And I was too in it. There was nothing anyone could do. And fast forward to, 15 years later, give or take, to today, me being who I am today, knowing what I know now, and looking back on that previous version of myself, it's very clear what I was telling myself about what was happening in that moment that made me explode like that and have that meltdown. So there are these 3 beliefs that I've carried with me since as far back as I can remember, that nobody understands me, nobody can actually see me for who I really am, and basically I'm alone in this world. And in that moment, it didn't feel like I was having some kind of unjustifiable reaction. I fully and completely believed that I had every reason to explode like that because what I was experiencing just felt like the absolute truth, and no one could tell me otherwise. I couldn't objectively see what I was thinking or track the sensations I was having in my body because I didn't have the tools or the awareness to do that yet. And so everything I was experiencing was just all consuming, and it was just the truth, period. But what I've come to understand is that I wasn't just reacting to what was happening in that particular moment. It wasn't just that I'm too emotional or that I overreact. Right? I was responding from something much, much deeper. And there's a pattern that plays out in my life still to this day, I'll vulnerably admit. And it's the same thoughts. No one can see me. Nobody gets me, right? That leads to the same feelings, which is usually rage, frustration, that like turns into a grievous pit of despair and hopelessness. And then that leads to the same reactions in a moment where I feel like I'm poked, like some wounded part of me is poked. And that's that I go into an outburst usually, because it's like this feeling of standing in a crowded room surrounded by people, screaming at the top of my lungs, and nobody can hear me. And all of this coming together and showing up over and over again, that's a pattern, right? And when you're in something like that, it doesn't feel like a pattern, right? It feels like reality. And it is for you in that moment. Because underneath your thoughts and reactions are beliefs. Beliefs about yourself, beliefs about other people, beliefs about the world, beliefs about your place in the world. And you've learned those beliefs over time. They've literally been programmed into you. So much so that you would probably argue that they are the absolute truth for you. But they don't have to be. Not anymore. Not when you start to make them conscious, and not when you start to shine the light of your awareness on them. And so we kicked off this self-mastery course by inviting you to start noticing your thoughts and your feelings, and ultimately what we're calling your patterns, right? And which are, the situations that you find yourself in that tend to repeat. And go ahead and let me know in the comments, please, how that's been going for you. I would love to support you and hold space for you with that. But, as we discussed, paying closer attention to yourself is the doorway to cultivating more self-awareness, and as a result, strengthening your ability to make more empowering decisions in your life. And so today I want to take that a step further and take a look at why you're having those thoughts and feelings, why those patterns in your life that keep happening are repeating, and where they originate, and how if you don't ever stop to take a look at your inner experience and identify, and most importantly of all, question the beliefs you hold about yourself and your life, they will continue to control you in ways seen and unseen. And I've actually grabbed a copy of The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, because there's a very short little excerpt that I want to read to you guys that I know when I started looking within and I sort of was embarking on this journey of self-discovery over 12 years ago, and someone recommended this book to me. In the beginning, she does talk about beliefs, and anyway, I just felt like I liked the way that she worded this, and it could be a great addition to what we're going to be talking about today. So, most of the time when we're blocked in an area of our life, it's because we feel safer that way. We may not be happy, but at least we know what we are: unhappy. Negative beliefs are exactly that, beliefs, not facts. And the beautiful thing that we're going to learn about today is that if a belief doesn't feel supportive for who you want to be today, then you can change it and thus change the quality of your experiences, okay? And we're going to talk about how you can do that. All right, so let's start by laying some groundwork about the different parts of your mind. This is going to be super basic, guys, okay? So you have your conscious mind, which is where you think and plan and analyze things. And then you have your subconscious mind, which is where your long-term memories are stored, including emotions, feelings, habits, relationship patterns, addictions, etc. And when I first learned what I'm about to share with you, my mind was literally blown. Around 90 to 95% of the decisions you make in your everyday life are coming from your subconscious beliefs, not from your conscious mind, where you think you're making your decisions from. All right, so what does that actually mean? It means that the way you behave, the choices that you make, and how you interpret what's happening in your life are being driven by patterns that were learned over time, which created beliefs, which are all stored in your subconscious mind, which is determining the decisions you're making 90 to 95% of the time. And here's the real kicker. Most of those beliefs that you have were formed between the ages of 0 to 7 years old, when you were just a little sponge, a little ball of clay being molded by the world around you, okay? And you were just soaking up everything that was happening at home with your family, at school, culturally, right? Because as kids, we're learning how to stay safe, how to get love and approval, how to avoid pain and rejection, and ultimately how to make sense of the world. And, these are basic human needs. We're wired to have these needs, right? And so a lot of what you think is just who you are is actually learned behavior from a younger version of you who was just trying to feel safe, understood, and okay. And so those beliefs that you developed are about everything from what you believe about yourself and your potential, relationships, love, success, failure, money, God. Whatever topic you can think of, you have beliefs about it, okay? And those beliefs are either contributing to a positive outlook on life or a negative one. And many of your beliefs are protective in nature, okay? So, like, for example, learning to stay quiet in order to avoid conflict, or trying to be perfect in order to feel accepted, right? The perfectionism one is a huge one for me. But some of them are just learned through repetition, through what you saw the adults around you doing, what you personally experienced. And, again, ultimately the meaning that you made from those things in order to help you understand life. And at some point in your life, those beliefs made sense for you and they served a purpose. And, there's a lot more that I could say here, but, we're going to unpack this in layers throughout the course. But point is, those beliefs helped you in some way that you needed. I don't want, I think it's so important to share this caveat that when we start to take a look at our beliefs and examine these things, it really be easy to go into judgment towards ourselves and others. But the thing is, I always say there's no such thing as a mistake. Like everything, there's a lesson in everything. And, right, wrong, good, bad. I really do my best to not speak in black and white like that, because I do believe everything truly does serve a purpose that happens. So, and also that every season of our unfolding deserves to be honored. And, we'll get more into that in future episodes. But for now, let's circle back to the personal example I shared from my life. So when I had that meltdown, the thoughts I was having didn't feel like they could be anything different than what they were, because I didn't have the awareness or the capacity to even consider that as a possibility. And because I was so deeply identified with those beliefs, based on the experiences from my past that I never really had taken an honest look at, and how my present experiences were reflecting and confirming those beliefs, that was just a reality that I lived in. And that's the hold our beliefs can have over us until we start to question them. But the important thing to know here, to really get to the root, is that the beliefs we have about ourselves and the world form our sense of identity. And our sense of identity creates a sense of safety and comfortable known for us, even if that comfortable known is not something that feels good, okay? And because of that, it's actually a survival instinct to be very attached to our identity. Because if we start to question our beliefs and ultimately who we know ourselves to be, and we find we're not actually that, then who are we? That's a really scary thought for someone to consider. And there's a lot of nuance to what I'm about to say, but sometimes depending on the different kinds of trauma that we've experienced or the state of our nervous system, taking a deeper look inside or starting to question, what you've always known to be true, which is often accompanied by, recalling painful memories from the past, it can feel like you're about to open Pandora's box or like unbolt a dam. And so many people may not even want to go there at all because it feels easier to just avoid it and try to act like it's not there because it hurts too much to look at it and it doesn't feel safe. Or maybe they're just not ready yet, and that's okay too. We should never try to force ourselves or others to do something that they aren't ready to do. But when you are ready, you just know. You just get fed up with looping in the same BS, and you kind of reach a point where something just like breaks open in you and you're ready to do whatever it takes to set yourself free. And that's how it was for me. And I talk about this a lot. Like I definitely reached like a breaking point where like my life just popped, you know, and we'll talk more about that. But, you know, what I'll say here is, you know, there were a series of events that happened in my 20s that, you know, woke me up from this sort of like sleepwalking state that I had been living in for most of my young adult life. And, you know, when I was first introduced to belief work, which is what we're talking about today, and, you know, I started examining my beliefs, it was incredibly groundbreaking and eye-opening for me. You know, I actually remember feeling like, you know, some of my most harmful or like limiting beliefs felt normal and also really kind of sad and uncomfortable to admit, even though I was just like exploring my beliefs and like doing these exercises alone, like in my journal. But, you know, I'm not gonna sugarcoat things. Like it wasn't fun acknowledging some of the beliefs that I had that just felt so inescapably true because it was all I'd ever known. It was like who I knew myself to be, right? And it was how I oriented myself in the world. And yet, there was a deeper part of me that knew that those beliefs were getting in the way of my happiness and well-being, and that they were interfering with my chances of expanding beyond who I had always been, which was a version of myself that there was absolutely no denying that I was outgrowing. But there was a process, stepping stones, you know, that helped me warm up and ease into this inner study work and really take my time with it and allow the wisdom of my life experiences to reveal themselves to me as I was ready. So there's a lot of ways to work with your subconscious mind and belief systems. And for me, in my own continuous journey of self-discovery, you know, I've experimented with a lot of the options that I'm going to be sharing with you today. And I'm always eager to explore different modalities that speak to me in the different seasons of my life. And I really want to encourage you to follow what lights up for you. And what I mean by that is, you know, go where you feel drawn. And, you know, when you feel a sense of completeness with that, move on. Okay. So some people start working with their beliefs by examining their thoughts through journaling, belief exploration, which is, you know, what we're going to do a bit of today, or talking to a therapist. And these approaches are what's known as top-down work. And basically, it's where you're addressing your beliefs directly, bringing them into your conscious awareness, questioning them, and, you know, intentionally choosing new ways of thinking that feel more aligned for you. And then others start by working with their beliefs in a less direct mental way through the body, which is also what we're going to be working with today. And this is called bottom-up work. So instead of trying to think your way through something, we're working with the sensations, the emotions, and the energy in the body through practices like breath work or conscious movement like yoga. And the reason why it's called bottom-up is because you're starting with the body, right? And allowing the body's intelligence to process things that may not even be fully conscious yet. Because the body holds onto unprocessed memories and emotions. And so, you know, when you create space for that to move, it can come up in ways like crying, shaking, or other physical releases. And, you know, this is the body's intelligent way of completing an emotional response that didn't have the opportunity to fully move through you at the time that it was happening. So, and also just to zoom out for a second, every session in this course is meant to work in both directions, top down and bottom up, so you can get really like a holistic experience of really grounding this information on all levels, right? And we're gonna talk things through and bring awareness to what's happening mentally, and we're gonna drop into the body as well so that you can actually feel and process things that may arise within you in regards to what we're exploring together. Because the real change that you're wanting to experience in your life, it doesn't just happen when information stays in your head. It really can only fully ground into your experience in a real way when your whole system is involved, right? So that's why, I feel like it's important to share the top down and the bottom up and really bring that all together for you here in these self-mastery sessions. So I felt like it would be helpful to share a little bit about how my journey with working with my subconscious material and beliefs unfolded in the beginning, just to give you an example of how this could look for you. And I also just want to say before I share this, I continue to work with my subconscious material and beliefs still to this day. I don't want this to sound like the work is never done, because I don't want to like promote that sort of like perspective. But if I'm being completely honest, it's true. The work is never done. Earth is a school, as I share, and it's my belief that Earth is a school. And so, if we're done learning lessons and getting to know ourselves in deeper ways, then we're probably not in a human body anymore. So anyway, so for me, the way that this journey of self-discovery really kicked off, and there's a lot more to this story, but I won't go into all the details in this video, but it wasn't the easiest thing for me at first to just dive right in and start looking at my beliefs. And that wasn't actually like the organic progression of how things happened for me. What ended up happening was, it was very, what I like to say, divinely orchestrated, where I was coming in contact with people who were energy healers, and they worked with Reiki and theta healing and sound healing, and I started getting invited to work with these people, or people who I would meet. I was waitressing at the time in a vegan restaurant in Santa Monica, and I was meeting people all the time that were in that world, and they would recommend me to see different people. And so it started with Reiki, and then the theta healing, and that one was the theta healing session that I had with this woman in Palm Springs was insane, the shifts that I felt inside of me, and I felt like I literally looked in the mirror and I saw a different person looking back at me. It was like there was a clearing that happened in that session that it almost like, I do believe that it activated a remembrance in me that like I was meant to reconnect with at that exact time. And after that happened, I completely started making some massive changes in my diet and my lifestyle habits. I was a heavy smoker, an alcoholic. I was like a drug abuser. I stopped all of that. I cut out gluten, sugar, caffeine, and I just started eating just super clean and sleeping more, and I stopped partying, and then I started doing yoga at a friend's house. And so I sort of was like opening my system up to really have more energy and capacity to look within myself. I was starting to kind of slow down and be more intentional in my life, and really, just treat my time and my body and my mind and my life more intentionally, right? And then it was around that same kind of time that I was introduced to The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And then also, because I'm an artist and a musician, although you don't need to be a creative to really benefit from that book, and we'll talk more about that. But and then also You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. And in both of those books and workbooks, the belief work is really foundational. Right. So and then at that point, I was journaling a lot more and really starting to examine my beliefs. And I felt like at that point, I had more of a capacity to look within in that way. So that was how my journey unfolded with getting into the belief work. Obviously, follow your own inner guidance to the best of your ability. And as always, if you have any questions about anything that I'm ever sharing about, please do drop it into the comments, and I will respond. I always love to tune into your questions and everything and respond from my heart. So I hope that you can find that helpful in some way, what I've just shared about my journey there. But so this is something important that I want to make sure we touch on. As I mentioned earlier, when we're starting to take a closer look at our beliefs, it's going to be inevitable that some memories from your past start to surface related to where those beliefs originated. And you may feel compelled to go deeper into those past experiences and memories because of what you'll notice that they're bringing up in you. And depending on the type of trauma or experiences that you had, it can be really helpful to work with a trained professional. And so I really want to encourage you that if you feel like that will be helpful for you, please do seek out the help and support that you need to fully unpack those experiences. You don't have to do this alone. For me, the way that I've really experienced working with painful memories from my past is really just in the beginning when I was examining my beliefs, and we're going to take in a moment, we're going to move into the practice portion of our training today. And you're going to have some exercises that are the same ones that's very similar to ones that I did back when I first started doing this work and taking a deeper look at my beliefs about myself and the world. But when I was looking at those beliefs, I did start to remember things from my past that did feel painful. And there was a lot of crying and feelings of anger and resentment and guilt that were coming up in me. I remember, and while I didn't work specifically with a therapist, a traditional therapist at that time, I did have mentors that I could speak with about what I was going through, and they really helped me. They held space for me to acknowledge the different feelings that were coming up in me so that I could fully process what I didn't have the capacity to really be with at the time when those painful memories actually had happened. And so I just really want to encourage you that when you are doing your belief work and you are starting to take a closer look, I want to remind you that you don't have to do this alone. If you do need extra support, please do seek out a therapist, a trained professional of some kind, a life coach, a mentor, right? Really, do your homework. And again, if, I'm not a medical professional, but again, I'm always sharing from my personal lived experience. But if you do leave a comment, I might be able to help point you in the right direction. And so that you know that you don't have to do this alone. And there have been times in my journey where I feel like I have the strength and the courage to work with my beliefs that are coming up for me to look at on my own. And then many times there are times when I need support. And so you'll get better at learning to discern what you need and when, and then following through on that and honoring that. But another thing also that is very important that I want to mention here is that your beliefs are showing up all the time in real time when you get triggered in some way. And that right there is an opportunity for you to heal old wounds in real time. And so you don't always have to just sit and be journaling. I think this is a really great, what we're going to do in a moment here is a really great introductory practice to sort of just open up the door, I guess you could say, to, just actually being able to identify the beliefs that you have about yourself and the world, and just open up that door so you can start to take a closer look. But then that practice will evolve in other ways that feel more practical and almost seamless in your day-to-day, which is very exciting when it gets to that point. All right, now we're going to move into the practice portion of today's training. And if you joined me in episode 1, I had invited you to create a new note in your notes app called What I'm Noticing. And you were starting to track your thoughts and feelings that came up, things that you were noticing when you found yourself in a situation that keeps repeating in your life that you're wanting to shift. And so we're going to open up that note And I want you to pick just one, maybe it's the most prominent repeating pattern that keeps happening in your life that you really are eager to shift right now. But it doesn't have to be that, but just pick one of those situations. And we're going to go a little deeper with it today. And so if you need to pause me for just a moment and go open up the note and take a moment to pick one, you can feel free to go ahead and do that and then come right back. But when you're back and ready, we're going to add underneath what I'm noticing, we're going to add a new question for that particular circumstance. And the question is, what would I have to believe for this to be true? And if this part feels tricky, you can try journaling, like stream of thought journaling about that specific situation and just see what comes out naturally. And I trust that the belief will reveal itself to you on the page. Writing, I always say writing is realization, and it's a great way to see what's really happening in your head. When you just kind of like let it come out uninhibited and you're not trying to like make it sound good or make sense or anything. It's amazing the stuff that will come out of you onto the page when you do that. So again, what would I have to believe for this to feel true? And in a minute here, I'm gonna show you how I would do this practice that I'm inviting you into today for myself, based on that story that I shared with you earlier. So if this is feeling confusing in any way for you, just stay with me and hopefully it'll make more sense in a minute. So what would I have to believe for this to feel true? Okay, so here in this part, you're starting to dissect in the thoughts and the feelings and the reaction that you had. What's the belief here that's making me have these thoughts and feelings when X, Y, Z happens, right? And then after that, do I actually want to keep believing this? This is important because you're asking yourself this very important question. Do I want to keep believing this? And it almost might seem silly to ask yourself that, but the goal in this work, and maybe goal isn't even the right word, but in the path of self-mastery, we're learning how to hold ourselves accountable, to take responsibility for our lives, and to be the one, the main person in our life who's holding us accountable for our actions. And that's building our trust in ourselves, and it's creating a stronger sense of self-concept. And these are all things that we're gonna get into, but little things like this, asking yourself, do I actually wanna keep believing this? And then answering that honestly to yourself. It's like these are little stepping stones to help you start to build that trust with yourself, okay? And if your response is no, I want you to replace that belief with something that feels more empowering and better for you. And take your time here and make sure that you're making it about you and how you want to choose to view these types of experiences moving forward. Again, like I shared in the last video, this isn't about when we're working with our beliefs, this has nothing to do with anybody, what they're saying, thinking, doing, anything outside of us, because we don't have any control over that. We only have control over what we're choosing, right? So make it about you. And also, bonus points if you really start to feel into that new empowering belief and really just tap into how would it feel to believe this instead of that? Like, how could things be different, right? And we're gonna actually use these examples in a minute when we move into the guided meditation and sound activation portion of our session today. All right, so if I were doing this back then, mine might have looked something like, I noticed that when this person said this, I felt really misunderstood. And then I'd noticed that feeling turned into anger. And underneath that, there was this really deep sadness and loneliness. And the thoughts that I was having were, they should know me better than that. No one actually sees me. I'm alone in this. And so those would be in the original note, part 1 from episode 1's exercise, right? What I'm noticing in the recurring situation that I find myself in that I want to try to shift. And So taking it a step further with what we're doing today, where we're looking to identify the beliefs fueling those thoughts and feelings, is what's the belief here, right? And for my example, the belief is nobody understands me and nobody ever will. And then the most important question, do I actually want to keep believing this? No, of course not. It hurts. And then finally, what belief would feel better and more empowering? And I wrote, whether or not I get the sense people understand me, I am okay. I am safe and I love myself. I'm learning to understand myself better, and that's most important of all. Everyone is allowed to perceive me however they want to or are able to, and no matter what, I can see myself, and that is more than enough for me. So, that's quite a bit longer than nobody understands me and nobody ever will, but for me, it felt right for mine to be long like that. Yours doesn't have to be long like that. I think just follow what feels right for you. Now we're going to move into the guided visualization and sound activation portion of today's training. So if you have some headphones nearby, I invite you to pop those in. And of course, if you're driving or not in a place where you can have some quiet privacy, you can pause this and come back later when you have a moment to sit down privately and really turn within so that you can fully ground the practice and the information, all the wonderful information that we explored together today. And just a quick note about the sound activation. All you have to do, if you've never been to a sound bath where there's crystal singing bowls and maybe singing, when we get to that part, I will be singing and bringing through sound. And there's nothing you need to do. You just are invited to stay open and receive the sound. And the sound is intelligent and it knows where to go and what to do. And I will guide you out of the meditation when it's all complete. So do your best to keep your eyes closed down, and I'll see you on the other side. Okay, so go ahead and find a comfortable position. Ideally, you're sitting upright, but if it's more comfortable for you to lay down, you can go ahead and lay down, but just make sure that you're staying with and intending to stay with this guided visualization, because you may feel like you want to fall asleep if you're laying down, and if that happens, that's okay too. But really intend to stay with this practice and stay in your body and stay present. So we're not going to change anything just yet. We're not going to change how you're breathing or anything like that. To begin right now, I really would just love to invite you to just allow yourself to really settle into this intentional space where we're really turning within and just being available to whatever may arise within us as I guide you to explore these different aspects of yourself, and so that we can together really ground everything that we explored together in today's training on a somatic, emotional, and energetic level.
So if you haven't already closed down your eyes, please go ahead and do that now. And I want you to just notice the quality of your breath. So what I mean by that is pay attention to where are you breathing from, right? Is your chest rising and falling with every inhale and exhale, or is it your belly, right? Just noticing. Nothing needs to change. And I want you to notice if there's anywhere in your body that feels like it's holding tension. So there's a feeling of tightness or restriction or contraction. And I just want you to look there with your inner gaze. Right? And you'll notice that your attention is just immediately drawn to either one place or even multiple places, but just look. Just look at that part of yourself, that part of your body that is holding that tension. And I want you to notice what happens when you look there. Do you find that it naturally softens when you look there? Make note of that. Make note of the fact that just looking softly at something in yourself allows this sort of release to happen just very naturally. You don't have to make it happen. It just happens. Okay, that's the intelligence of your body. And that is the intelligence and the wisdom of a deeper part of you coming online and supporting you in doing what you already know how to do. If you would just slow down and allow these natural processes to unfold within you with intention. Okay. So now we're going to start to engage in some conscious breathing. So I want to invite you to start taking some deep inhales through your nose. And I want you to focus on filling up your belly with each breath. And if you're able to, when you begin to inhale through the nose, begin by filling up the belly and allowing that breath to rise into your lungs. And so there's almost like this wave sensation happening where with every inhale, your belly is filling. And once your belly is full, then you feel your lungs start to fill. And it's just this movement of up, 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 up. And on your next inhale, I want you to hold that inhale for just a moment or two. And as you release, I want you to exhale through the mouth, and I want you to let out a sigh or some kind of sound, okay? And fully exhale, fully empty the body. So I'm going to give you a moment here to be inhaling and exhaling at your own pace in the way that I've just described. And you may notice there are thoughts just appearing in your mind. Maybe you're getting distracted. That's okay. That's normal. That's just the mind doing its thing. Just allow those thoughts to sort of subside as easily as they're showing up. Okay, don't reach out and grab onto them. And if you do find that you're doing that, just gently notice that you're doing that. Take a deep breath in and out, and then come back to the practice. And let this be very natural. You cannot do this wrong. Okay, my love? So continuing with these deep conscious breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. Good. Very good. Just allow your body to soften. Continue to soften into this moment. And whatever is here within you, just let it be here. And we're going to move into a visualization now, working with the beliefs that we were exploring in today's training, starting with the belief that feels limiting to you, that maybe isn't allowing you to express yourself in a way that feels aligned with who you know you really are and who you want to be. Okay? And we're going to bring forward that belief now. If you can recall it, take a moment to recall it and bring it to the forefront of your awareness. And we're going to have a little conversation with that belief and the part of you and the past version of you that acquired that belief. Because that part of you that learned that belief, that learned that behavior, that decided that it was best for you at that time to believe that because it protected you in some way, it made you feel safe in some way, it helped you understand your life in some way. Right? We're gonna acknowledge that part of you with love and reverence because it did serve a purpose at one time in your life. Okay, so having that belief at the forefront of your mind, I want you to ask yourself silently inside, what do you have to tell me? Do you have a message for me? And we're calling on that version of yourself, that past version of yourself that developed that belief. And we're going to create some space here, okay? Your mind's going to want to try to think its way through this, and that's okay if that happens, but I'm going to actually be quiet for a moment here and invite you to really allow the part of you that still lives inside of you, that isn't your mind trying to figure this out or get this right, but the deeper part of you that knows and remembers. All right, so we're going to just get quiet for a moment and listen for that part. Whatever you're getting, maybe it's a message, maybe it's a feeling, maybe it's a memory. Just gently let that be there. And also, if nothing has arisen for you, that's okay too. It's here. All right? Trust that. Know that. And as you're ready, it will reveal itself to you, okay? And now I want you to take both of your hands and I want you to place them over your heart space. And I want you to feel the warmth of energy between the palms of your hands and your skin that's over your ribs, that's over your heart. And I want you to just feel that warmth. I want you to feel that pulsation of energy. And just completely just drop your awareness inside of your heart space. Like it's this big, warm cave with a fire just burning and crackling in there. And you're sitting beside it, feeling the warmth and the vibrancy of this space within you. Is there possibly any part of you, that past version of you that wants to join you sitting by this fire in your heart space? Just notice if any part of you comes forward. Keep breathing. Keep breathing. And now, being who you are today, knowing what you know now, is there anything kind or loving or supportive that you might want to say to that part of yourself, that previous version of yourself that maybe decided that believing this thing about the world or about life or yourself or others, that it helped you in some way at that time, but now you know better, now you know more, and you're stronger now. And so is there something that you want to say to him or her to let them know that it doesn't have to be like that anymore? Take a moment now and do that within yourself. Tayo maka buak kuap maka map mo Yeto ayanyo no moi ga yeto maka yo pa ya ayu Yo boy mahaka ya kama ya Yo ma ya ya ta ka yo Yo ma ya You boy kayo to want you to take a deep breath in, fill up every part of you, and hold it at the top. 2, 3, 4, and release. Full exhale. Can you hold that part of yourself in your mind's eye? That younger part of you that lives inside of you still, can you reach out and wrap your arms around him or her and just feel how well you're able to take care of them now? Almost like you're their parent. Like that's the feeling that you feel, that warmth, that just unconditional there-ness, no matter what. It's gonna be okay. I've got you. I've got you now. Yeah. And now I want you to take a look into that past version of you. Take a look into their eyes. And I want you to say to them, I'm going to take it from here now. You are safe. I'm not going to let anything bad happen to you. I love you. I'm here for you. And any time that you feel like things aren't okay, you just come to me. And I'll make it right for us. Beautiful. I want you to allow that past version of you to just gently dissolve. Good. Very good. And now I want you to bring your conscious awareness back into your body. I want you to feel the weight of your body wherever your body is meeting the surface that you're either sitting on or laying down on. I want you to feel the connection. I want you to feel the weight. The density of your body. I want you to feel your breath. I want you to feel the tips of your toes. I want you to feel the energy in the palms of your hands. And now I want you to bring forward the new empowering belief that you want to replace that old limiting belief that really isn't serving your highest vision for who you want to be, for who you know you truly are. Go ahead and bring that forward now. And it's okay if you can't remember verbatim, word for word, what you wrote. Just tap into the essence of that new belief to the best of your ability. Because it's in you. Okay, you came up with it. And so something I really want to remind you in this moment is that we don't always have to have a conscious intellectual understanding of something in order to make it real. Because the deepest part of you always knows. Okay? So trust that, remember that. I'm holding space for you to remember that. So bringing forward that new empowering belief that you want to reprogram. Oh, and I'm smiling because I feel it. I feel how beautiful and how fortifying this belief is for you. And I want you to hold it in your mind. I want you to hold it in your heart. And I want you to feel it. I want you to feel this belief. I want you to envision, what does my life look like when I believe this? How does it feel in my body? Do I feel free? Do I feel joyful? Do I feel like me? Do I feel more peaceful, more at ease? Do I feel expansive, like I can handle more? Do I feel like my relationships get to feel more harmonious because I believe this now? Do I feel like I can let go of control a little bit more and let my life be what it is? Do I feel like I can trust myself more to know what to say and what to do in the moments that used to feel really hard for me? But now, because I choose to believe this other thing, this new empowering belief, I am changed. And thus my relationships with others and with life overall just feel lighter. Experience that in your body, in every cell of your body, vibrating this remembrance of how amazing it feels to reconnect with who you really are. Not the version of you that life programmed you to believe is who you needed to be in order to survive. Because we're done surviving. It's time to thrive. It's time to rise into who you know you truly are, more and more every day, every time you return to this knowing space, this wise knowing space in your heart where you can choose what you want to believe because it makes you feel better to believe that, and because you can actually see how everything changes in your external environment when you believe that, when you choose that new empowering belief. Wow. Wow. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. You're really doing it. I want you to feel proud of yourself right now. Feel proud that you're showing up for yourself in this way. And this isn't about getting this right all the time. You're gonna forget, my love. But give yourself grace. Give yourself grace in those moments and intend that next time you're gonna try again. You're not gonna stop making your best effort to choose this belief moving forward when you find yourself in those situations that keep repeating that you're ready to shift. Because the more that you intend to show up and keep doing this and keep showing up for yourself in this way, the easier it's going to get. And eventually it's just going to become your default programming, my love. So don't give up. And please return to this practice anytime that you want to remember what it feels like to tap into who you really are, your truest nature, who you know yourself to be, that part of you that is vibrantly alive, sitting by that fire in the cavern of your heart space. Because that is who you really are. Okay. Wow, beautiful, beautiful work today. Bring a smile to your face. Breathe deeply into this knowing that this is available for you anytime, anywhere that you can step away and take a moment to drop in like this. This is available for you. I want you to take a deep breath in through the nose. Hold it at the top. 2, 3, 4, and exhale out the mouth. And I want you to gently start to wiggle your fingers and toes. If you want to start to move your body, stretch a little bit. And when you're ready, you can gently flutter your eyes open. Come back into the space. And keep breathing deeply as you reorient yourself to the room where you're sitting, or wherever you're sitting or laying down. And do your best not to rush into anything from here. Okay, we're going to take just a moment before this training closes out, and you'll see me on the screen again, but look around the room, and I want you to identify some items in the space. I want you to name the colors that you see, the textures of things. Do you see anything soft and plush? Anything shiny and hard? Are your curtains on your window blowing in the wind? Like, what's the quality of the light coming in from the window or from a light source? Just be here now, in your body, in the world again. Really allow yourself to ground here. This is very important, my love. Okay. Well done, my love. I am so proud of you.
All right, welcome back. So, in closing, I'd love to encourage you to deepen in this belief work and take it a step further when you have a moment to really sit down with your journal or in your notes app and start to list out the first things that come to mind with the following topics that I'll have listed here on the screen. If you want to screenshot this, I won't list them all out right now. And just start to write down what you feel and what you believe about each of these topics to start to identify your beliefs about those things, okay? And just notice what it brings up in you when you start to see all those beliefs listed out on the page. And I also want you to pay special close attention to the beliefs that really stand out to you, that are related to some of the unwanted, like negative experiences that you have in your life, okay? Because you're going to start to see a connection between the beliefs that you have about that thing and what you're experiencing in your life. So we're going to go deeper into the mechanics of all of that and how our beliefs create our reality in the next training. So you're definitely not going to want to miss that one. But in the meantime, do feel free to use the same exercise we did today with some of the most prominent beliefs that stand out on your list, okay? All right, so I want to thank you so much for joining me here today. And I ask that if this resonated with you, please let me know in the comments. introduce yourself, ask any questions you might have. And if you love content like this and resonate with my vibe, please make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one, and share it with a friend who could benefit from this discussion. And in closing, I just want to say, creating a better life for yourself isn't some glamorous, overwhelmingly complicated undertaking. It's a series of bite-sized adjustments made in the mundane micro moments of each day. One minor attitude adjustment here, one honest act of self-accountability there, courageously leaning into the discomfort this time instead of pushing it away, and more gentleness towards yourself in the moments when it feels as if you've backstepped. This is the path of self-mastery. All right, until next time, be well. Bye.